Well, welcome back to the channel, guys. If you are new here, my name is Roger and I am designing and building my own mid-engine supercar. This is the current state of the car, and we have a little 3D printed model here on the top. If you're new to the channel, you haven't seen this. If you've been around a while, you probably have. I 3D printed this about 1.5 years or 2 years ago. But this will give you some idea what the car will look like when it's finished. Small things may change, like the rear spoiler or the side mirrors or ground effects, things like that, but overall this is what the car will look like. So let's take a look at what I've been working on this week. You may notice I made these side pieces here that create the air inlet. I've made both of these parts and have them sitting in place, and I'm still fitting them. They don't fit exactly correct. I've got an issue of them not fitting correct because of something not aligning like it should, but we'll come back and talk about that in a minute. Let's look at some other things I've been working on. So I made these two pockets about a week ago for these rear turn signal lights to snap into, and you can see I have cut clearance holes here for these features. They should align and push down in there and snap in place. There's 3 snaps here that hold this light in, but the radiuses here are a little too tight. I can't press the light down in far enough for it to snap. It almost does, but not quite. So I need to remake these 2 pieces, and I have the mold ready to go, so we'll make that this weekend. I'll show you that mold here in just a minute. And these lights go here. You can see where I put this piece of tape on and drew where I need to cut out for the lights to stick through this rear of the car, so you'll be able to see them. And as soon as I have those pockets made or remade, I'll start working on cutting these holes out and getting those to align. I have also been working on this gap from the rear of the car and the rest of the body, trying to get it perfect. I've taken a piece of sandpaper and folded it, and I've been working it in here and sanding, get this gap a consistent width all the way across, and I have it almost perfect. There's just a couple of spots I need to clean up on this end over here. And this is aligning and looking really nice across here. I also created this little sanding block here to put a radius on these 2 parts because you can't leave a sharp edge on them. And I've started sanding from here to about here just to see what that radius will look like, and it turns out nice. So I need to go ahead and do that to both parts all the way across, so have a nice consistent fillet across there, a radius, so it'll look good and paint good. Can't paint a sharp corner because the paint builds up on it and looks terrible. But you can see here I've been doing quite a bit of sanding. I've removed the rear diffuser and this insert here, this aluminum insert, and the taillights to make this rear of the car lighter, because I have removed and replaced this rear of the car probably 6 or 7 times, working on all this the gap and the sanding and getting everything to align. But it's looking really nice. Okay, I have 2 molds ready to go to make parts this weekend. One of them is the one I was just mentioning to you. This is the new parts for the turn signals to snap into, the rear turn signals. And this is the bottom of the windshield where it sits in and glues into place. And it will attach here to the 2 A-pillars on the car. It'll glue into place and create a solid pocket that goes all the way across for that windshield to glue into place when it's finished. Now once this car body is finished and painted and it goes on for the final time or the final assembly, that part will touch here, it'll sandwich and bolt together. I'll put some kind of material inside of that, foam or something, as a gap seal, and then once it bolts together, that'll be airtight, keep the weather out of the car. Okay, and for these 2 pieces here that we were discussing earlier about the way they're not fitting, the reason they're not fitting correctly is the roof of the car is hitting the roll bar. It is sitting on the roll bar here and sitting on the roll bar here. So it is as low as it can go, but it is not quite low enough to work. The bottom of the car is angled up slightly, and I don't know exactly how much here, but I can tell you that here the point on this A-pillar is about 1 inch too high. So there are 3 things we can do to correct this, and I'll tell you what those are, and then I'll tell you why I chose the one I did. But I think when I explain these 3, you're going to understand why it's the only valid way to correct this. Okay, so the first thing that we can do to correct this is raise the rear body here probably 3/4 of an inch higher than it is now, and I have got this at about 1 1/8 inches right now, which is the clearance that I wanted. But if I raised it 3/4 of an inch higher, I believe I could get this bottom line here to be parallel to the bottom of the frame or to the ground, same thing, and it would work out to where this part would fit like it's supposed to. But I just don't want that big of a gap above the rear tire to the top of the fender well arch. I just think that would look terrible, so I'm going to rule that out. Another option would be to lower the bottom frame of the car closer to the ground, which will also bring the roll bar down lower, and keeping this the same height because the tire is not going to move, the wheel and tire. That being the same height and this being lower, the frame being lower, it would allow me to rotate this down. But the problem with that, right now I'm at 5 1/8 of an inch ground clearance, and I did some research on the computer. I had done this before, but I wanted to verify where I was at. A new Corvette C8 is about 5.3 inches. Now some Ferraris are about 4.2 or 4.3 inches, but those Ferraris are like a 488 Pista, which is basically a track car only. You can drive it on the highway, but the ground clearance just isn't quite enough for speed bumps and getting in and out of parking lots and driveways. So I'm afraid to go any lower than I am now. I think that 5 1/8 of an inch is a perfect ground clearance for the car, so I want to keep it there. I don't want to go any lower, and I think I'd have to go about 3/4 of an inch lower to make that work. So we're going to rule that out. So that only leaves one more option, and that option is to take the height out of the roll bar. And I would have to cut it out here on this front tube and on the rear tube where it mounts, and lower the roll bar. It's going to be close to about 3/4 of an inch to get this to work out right. And by doing that, it would allow me to rotate the roof and the A-pillar down and to where it needs to be to get this body line here parallel with the bottom of the frame and with the ground. By doing that, it will allow the back of the door jamb here to align perfectly with that vertical aluminum tube that the door latch is mounted to, and then it would let this rotate in and fill that gap and fit correctly like it's supposed to. So unfortunately, I think that's the route I'm going to have to take. Eventually I'm going to have to remove this roll bar and take some height out of it and re-weld it. That won't be too bad in the back. This will be a little more difficult here, but you can see it's sticking out in front of this aluminum post some now. So if I took about 3/4 of an inch off of it, it's going to bring that back. It may even come off the back of this plate. If it does, I can cut a new plate so it'll weld on solid all the way around, but I don't think it will. I think it'll still stay on the plate and work out the way it needs to. That's going to be quite a bit of work, but I think it's going to be the best in the long run. I need to have the body positioned the way it is on my computer model. If not, the front fender and the door are not going to align to this body seam, or this body line. This line runs all the way up the door, up to the fender, and if this door was sitting at a little bit different angle than this part here, you're going to see that it's going to have misalignment. Actually, you can see here in the model the way that aligns. That is a really hard edge, and it needs to align perfect. So I'm afraid to do anything other than lower this roll bar and fix this the correct way. So that's what we'll do. I need to make splice plates to glue this together. I have the computer model ready to go. I just need to cut the file on the CNC and get those parts made. Then we can take this body off, put that splice plate on, and glue all that together permanently. It also glues here. It's not touching, but this pushes in and glues there, and then that hard body line remains. You'll be able to see it out here. It'll be inside of some of the ground effects pieces, but I like that hard edge. We have one that matches it on the front of the car. If you can see them here, there's the hard edge here, and then the hard edge here where this turns back. I kind of like the look of that, so I've kept that in my body design. But that's what it's looking like. Hopefully, if we get these splice plates made and get this body off, we can glue all that together and start fitting it. I'll remove the roll bar so we can get this sitting exactly where it needs to and get it cut and installed. And then I can take, once I have this sitting exactly where it needs to, I can take some hard measurements from the top of the frame up to how high the roll bar needs to be, and I'll know exactly how much I need to remove off of the roll bar height. But that's where we're at, and that's what I've got accomplished here in the last couple of weeks. And I guess that's going to be about it for this week's video, and I will see you guys again in a few weeks.